Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and one of the most common questions I get from you guys is, what JRPG do I recommend? So in this video, I'm going to share that with you. Now, I wanted to make this different from the usual recommendation videos, so I split them up into categories like action-based, turn-based, strategy, etc. And then I'm picking a game that best suits that category. So I'm pretty excited to share it with you. But before we begin, if you end up liking this video, then hit that like button, would appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I do JRPG content, gaming discussions, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's get into the picks. First, we're gonna start with turn-based RPGs, my favorite genre. So for this pick, I'm gonna give you Octopath Traveler 0. And if you guys don't know, Octopath Traveler 0 used to be a mobile game, but then it was turned into a full console release game, and it just works out so good. The story is amazing. If you thought the other two Octopath Travelers were dark, Octopath Traveler 0 is the darkest out of all of them, and I love it. I love it so much. I feel like the story is a little bit deeper than, the superficial stuff. It's so good, masterfully done, and the HD 2D graphics are beautiful as always. Also, this game has a unique take on the turn-based system. So instead of your typical 4-party people on the board, instead you have like 10 people on the board. But in this game, they really make it work. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it does play a part in the ending. If you know, you know. If you do know, don't say it. But yeah, the 10-party system is so chaotic, but so fun. And you really want to pick your party that hits most of the enemy's weaknesses. And man, do you have a lot of characters to choose from. There are the unique characters. They do something different than any other party member. And then when you're in the battle, you could actually switch the first row party members to the back row. And if you're in back row, you get certain perks or you get to heal up and stuff like that. And then you can switch them out. So it's not a traditional turn-based, but I love it so much. And then there's the job system for the protagonist. You could choose between the jobs that you've seen in Octopath Traveler. So mage, swordsman, dancer, all that stuff. And yes, I do know that this game is a little lengthy, but I enjoyed it from start to finish. Beautiful game, highly recommend it. Now moving on to the new category. Now this category is for a game that I just got introduced to, and for this pick I chose Trails in the Sky Chapter 1. This is my first intro to the Trail series, and wow, what an intro, and I can't wait for Chapter 2 in a few months. Now the remake of Trails in the Sky Chapter 1 is a full remake. They made it from the ground up with new models, new graphics, new gameplay, everything new except for the story. I've heard about the Trail series for years, but I was always intimidated by it because it's a long running series and it's a game series you want to play in order to get the full force of the story. I know you could play it out of order, but it's highly recommended you play it in order. I did try to start with Cold Steel, but then Chapter 1 remake got announced and I was like, you know what, let me just start at the beginning. So the story kicks off with Estelle and Joshua. Estelle is a very bright person, so bright that it's her name, Estelle Bright. And then her adopted brother, Joshua, who is more direct. Their goal is to become top-rate bracers in the kingdom of Liberal. And yeah, it's a little bit of a slow burn at first, but when the game kicks off, it kicks off. Now for the combat, I actually really adore it. It does something different, which is having a turn-based mechanic, but a somewhat action-based mechanic too. For example, you could go to an enemy and just whack them like an action game, or you could just press a button and it goes into a turn-based system. Really nice, really clever. Gameplay, story, characters, world building, this game has it all. So I'm really happy to be a newcomer to the series because I have so many games to play after. But more specifically, Chapter 2 that is coming out really soon. It actually comes out the same day Fortune's Weave comes out. So yeah, I got my plate full. Alrighty, now on to my next category, and that is for action. For this pick, I chose Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, and it was actually my first Kingdom Hearts game. Now this game is known to have a very convoluted story, but in my opinion, it's not that convoluted if you play the games in order. And honestly, I love digging the lore of Kingdom Hearts. That's like a side hobby for me. So on paper, Kingdom Hearts 2, and I guess the other Kingdom Hearts games, is kind of a unique blend that could only be Kingdom Hearts, which is essentially Disney characters, Final Fantasy characters, and new characters in this world world full of darkness and light, keyblades, heart, and the power of friendship. So on paper, this game shouldn't work, but oddly enough, it does. Why does it work? I don't know, but I'm guessing one of the reasons is the gameplay. The gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 2 is freaking phenomenal. And while there is button mashing, that's not the whole experience. And then there's the dry forms. So this temporarily swaps out Zora's moveset exclusive to that form. And the Disney worlds are the best in the series in Kingdom Hearts 2. They don't feel like they were just tacked on like in Kingdom Hearts 3. No, the Disney worlds have their own things going on, and it does tie into the overall story. And I cannot recommend this JRPG enough. Now moving on to our strategy category. Woo! I don't know why I said woo. And for this one, I picked Fire Emblem Three Houses. And yes, I had to put a Fire Emblem game in the strategy category because they're just awesome. But I didn't just put this game just to put it. I actually cannot recommend you enough Fire Emblem Three Houses. Tactical JRPGs really hinge on two core pillars: satisfying grid-based combat and actually caring about your characters. And Fire Emblem Three Houses checks those boxes by blending the series' legendary strategy component with a lot of social sim components that kind of remind me of Persona. You get to play as a teacher in the Garrick Mach Monastery, but these students aren't just regular students. They're actually the leaders of their respective house. We have Edelgard, who's the heir of the Empire, Dimitri, and Claude, who's a leader in the Lesser Alliance. Fire Emblem Three Houses is a beast of a game. There are 3 different routes, and each route could take you the length of a full RPG experience, which some people might not like, but you could just pick a route and play it like that. But I do recommend you play at least some of the other ones for the story to make sense. And then as the story goes on, the world building gets bigger and bigger. The world of Fire Emblem Three Houses is honestly one of the most in-depth, complex, and just interesting settings in any Fire Emblem game. So much so that the sequel, well, I think it's the sequel, I don't know yet, but the next game, Fortune's Weave, takes place in this setting, but in a new continent and area. The other side is the gameplay. The gameplay is spot on. It's a Fire Emblem game. They rarely mess up in that department, and Three Houses has to be one of the best in my opinion. Of course, this game is a strategy RPG, so there's a lot of strategy when it comes to the gameplay, and then there's a lot of building and customizing your characters with different builds and jobs, which you can experiment to your heart's content. But if the thought of that is pretty overwhelming, the game does have difficulties. You can play on classic, which if your unit dies, they die, except if they're story relevant. And then you have the casual, where if that unit dies, they kind of just retreat and they don't die permanently. And then there's a typical easy, medium, and hard. A lot of Fire Emblem fans say like, oh, so you gotta play on classic to be a true fan. No, you don't. And for me, Fire Emblem Awakening still is my favorite game, mostly due to nostalgia, but Three Houses is a close second. Now the next category is actually pretty weird, but this is the hidden gem category. And for this one, I chose Final Fantasy Type 0. Yes, this is my favorite Final Fantasy game, and it's not even considered a mainline game. And I hate that because the game is just so good. Now, this just might be my bias, but hear me out. One of the reasons I think this game didn't do as well is because the time it came out, it was exclusively stuck on the PSP for so many years until they remastered it for home consoles. And add to the fact that it was a Japan exclusive too for a long time. And by the time the HD remaster came out, the hype train was gone. So unfortunately, Type 0 got ignored. The remaster sold really well, but that's because they added a demo for Final Fantasy 15, which is honestly a shame. Mainly because why didn't the demo just release and you don't have to buy a whole game just to play it? Second, a lot of people just picked it up just to play the demo and didn't play Type 0. But anyways, Type 0 is so different from the other Final Fantasy games. It is really dark. I think it was the first Final Fantasy to introduce blood. There's a chocobo dying in the beginning, which is really sad, and other people are dying too. There's an all-out war, and it's just a very sad setting, and the story is just so sad, but also good. Now the whole lore of this world is the same as Final Fantasy 13, so we have the Seas and seas and all that stuff, which could probably be another reason why the game didn't do well, because it's tied to 13. That's just speculation. Now the gameplay is really special. Yes, it's a little bit dated. Again, this game came out for the the PSP, but the gameplay is still top notch. It is an action RPG that lets you play as 13 of the characters, and each character has their unique weapon of choice. I think that this game stuck with me for so long is because of the ending and the story overall. The gameplay is also good, not as great because it came out for the PSP, but it's still really solid. And I do know that this is not the most polished or even grand story in a Final Fantasy game, but what it does do just works so much. Play Final Fantasy Type 0. I know a lot of people don't even remember it, so I am here to remind you. Anyways, moving on to our next category, and this is for the cozy JRPG category. For this one, I picked Atelier Resleriana. I chose Resleriana because it recently came out and it has one of the best alchemy systems in my opinion. The Atelier series overall has to be the golden standard for just cozy JRPGs, and I love it. The Atelier series is one of my favorites, and I always recommend one of them in my recommendation videos. Now with Atelier Resleriana, it goes more to the classic Atelier style than the more modern ones from Ryza, though I do recommend Ryza too. You spend most of your time gathering ingredients, making stuff, progressing in the story, and of course those slice of life moments. This is not like the older Atelier games where you had a time limit. In Resleriana you have unlimited time, and this kind of series is not really known for its stressed out gameplay or difficulty spikes here and there. The combat is fun and engaging without ever feeling punishing, and the visuals are just gorgeous. I got mine for the Switch one though, so it didn't really look as gorgeous as the other ones, but it's still a really nice setting. I love both of the protagonists, and yes, you could pick between two protagonists, but it really doesn't matter which one you pick, except there's a few character exclusive scenes, but you could just switch in and out of character on the fly, so I don't really know why they made you choose. And it really leans heavily into a cozy slice of life feel with watercolored inspired visuals and cozy hangout scenes, and the alchemy not being too difficult adds to that. And also the soundtrack is really good. Atelier music is always good, and this one no exception. So if you want a very cozy, very stress-free game, I highly recommend Atelier Resleriana. Now moving on to the next category, and that is the all-around. This pick is for games that don't really have a lane. They kind of just do a lot of everything. And for this pick, I chose Persona 4 Golden. Persona games are just top-notch. And I chose 4 because it's my favorite in the series, actually. And there's an upcoming Persona 4 revival remake, so there's that too. And what Persona does best is the psychological themes woven into mythological stories. And another thing that Persona games do really well is perfectly balancing the narrative, combat, and social loops. A lot of their games are set between a school and some dungeons. And with Persona 4, I love that it has a very small town feel. There's a mystery going on, and I just love the yellow aesthetic plus the music. Divine. Really good stuff. Now the combat is a traditional turn-based system, and it has the also classic one more system, which basically rewards you with an extra turn when you exploit an enemy's weakness. And like I said before, building bonds with your classmates throughout the story scenarios really do help out when it comes to the combat in the form of social links. And with Persona 4, the social links have to be the best. They're not boring, they have drama, complexities, different people from different walks of life. It really makes you want to sit down and talk to these people. Like, these NPCs really got me feeling a lot with their stories. And that is kind of why I prefer Persona 4. It has the best social links out of all the games. It's really just beautiful. Persona's 4 themes mainly focus on seeing the truth within lies. Of course, there are other themes, but that's the biggest one. Persona games are seriously the best, and with Persona 4, it is the best out of all of them. Alrighty, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know games that you cannot recommend enough that I didn't mention in this video. Do you agree with some picks? Do you don't? Let me know all that. If you like this video, then hit that like button, and please consider subscribing. So without further ado, I hope you guys have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.